piece that I did a few weeks back on my lovely educator Jade Barber when I was visiting her down in Kent, and we decided to video it so that I can share it with you guys on YouTube. So from the complete beginning, so we've sort of prepped the nails, we've already pushed the cuticles back, filed that natural nail, and then cleaned it. So we're going straight on with the forms. So you've probably noticed in my videos lately I've been using these forms from Crystal Nails for a bit now. I love them. I absolutely love these forms. They are so sturdy. The sort of aluminium in the form keeps them in place brilliantly. I love these forms. So even if I'm just doing salon work, I use them, and if I'm doing extreme work, I use them. So highly recommend these forms. They now come in 2 different sizes. So these are the long ones that I'm using in the video today, but they actually come in a shorter salon size now. So if you want to just get them for salon work, then you can now, which is great. So let's talk about form fitting, because I know people have issues with form fitting, and they tend to stick with tips because they're more confident with tips, and they sort of struggle with the whole form fitting thing. So when I first started 23 years ago now, form fitting was a little bit different to what it is now. So now you'll notice the tabs that stick to the finger at the back, so past the cuticle area, the bit near the knuckle, we now have them open a little bit, and that is so that the form can come out nice and straight from the natural nail. Whereas before we used to have them closed, or we used to even have them lifted up into the air, which made the nail claw down, which we've obviously learned over time that structure is better if it's straight out from the sidewall rather than tilting down. So you want to open those tabs at the back so that you can have the form slightly open at the back and flat to the finger. So once I've got it underneath that nail and I can secure this form into place, just be careful when you're pinching it together that you don't pinch in one side more than the other. Look from the side angle to see if it's all the same angle on each nail, and then you'll see me cutting diagonally down the sides of the forms. And what that allows the form to do is pinch in even more without disturbing the adhesion of the rest of the form, so that the form is slimmer than the nail. So you don't want the form to be wider than the nail, because that's going to create a wide nail. So you want the form to be slimmer than the nail. So creating those marks, those cut lines, and pinching that form underneath allows that form to be thinner. Sometimes you'll need to cut a little smile out of the form if the client's hyperonychium is quite high, and on this particular finger of Jade's it is, so we're just cutting a little space out. But with the thing with forms is it's practice. The more you do with them, the more you'll build up confidence, and the more you'll just get a form on without even questioning how you're doing it. So don't be scared to get some clients in and practice your sculpting. The more you do it, the more you'll be fine. The less you do it, the more it'll scare you. Decide what length you're going to on your form. So I'm going to be doing like a Russian almond on these, so I'm pinching the form to the point of where I want that Russian almond to finish. And then check the angles. If the angles are not right on your forms, don't hesitate to take it off and put a different one on, so that you get them all at the same angle. So when you look at these nails when they're finished, the apex is all in the right place and the nail isn't tilted down or tilted up. It's all at the right angle. And you can see I do leave a little bit of free edge. You don't have to have free edge there. People sort of say, oh well, I can't sculpt because she's got bitted nails, or you can sculpt on really short nails, but I wouldn't sculpt on anything longer than what I've got here. I would always take it down to that, because it will interfere with the way that your form fits. So just checking from every angle now, is that form where I want it, before I carry on with my prep procedure. So we've already cleaned and dehydrated these nails, so now I'm just popping my primer on. And then I'm going to sculpt in just a nice thin layer of clear. And the reason that I do that is because I can pinch that layer, so I can get my nice C-curve in. And also because if you wanted to do a redesign on these nails, then you've got a layer to file back down to. So your client would come in, you would use your electric file, take the design off, but still have that clear layer underneath. So I'm just building out that clear layer as if it would be a tip, basically. So you're really going to use that belly of your brush to press that acrylic down so it's nice and thin. You don't want it any thicker than what a tip layer would be, really. Make sure that you've got enough right on the free edge, enough product there, and your shape on your side walls and your free edge is how you want it. Now with this particular shape, that nail wants to be coming out nice and straight from the side walls, and then it wants to be coming up at an angle. So straight out from the side walls and then up at an angle to a point. So on top, from the top view, this nail will look like a stiletto. But from the side view, that's when you'll see that it doesn't go up diagonally to a point. It actually comes out straight first and then up to a point. So the C-curve on this nail is very, very deep, which creates great strength. It's a really good, strong nail for a client that might need that sort of extra strength. And you can sort of get more length out of it, really, because you're putting that much C-curve into it. You can get a bit more length out of it, and your clients will feel that the strength is still there. So that pinching tool is just pinching that stress point. So when I say stress point, I mean where the natural nail finishes and the acrylic starts. That's my stress point. So the pinching tool will only pinch that area. Then I have to come in with either my fingers or my thumbs and pinch the rest of the nail, because the pinching tool doesn't really touch the rest of the nail. So you need to come in with I use like my two thumbs, or you can use your fingers and pinch that in yourself. So same again, just bringing out that free edge nice and thin with a clear layer. I know it's very hard to see what I'm doing when I use clear, so you'll obviously see a bit better when I start putting some colours on. A lot of people ask me about my brush. It is the Perfect Nail size 12. I just don't put the handle on the end. I like a short brush, so I don't put the handle on the end. So if you're always like wondering why I've got such a short brush, I like to use a short brush. As in, short as in the length of the whole entire brush, not the actual bristles part. Now, I'm using NSI Crystal Clear, so it is a fairly fast setting product. So I can get my pinching tool on fairly fast. It's not too long, so I'm waiting in between each nail to get that pinching tool on. I'm not moving on to the next nail. Whereas if I was using something like Perfect Nails, then that's a slower setting product, and I know that I'd be able to get another full nail done and come back and pinch that first one. But because I'm using NSI, I'm pinching each nail individually. So again, putting that pinching tool on to pinch the stress point, and then I'm going to take it off and pinch the free edge just with my fingers or my thumbs. So it goes really nice and tight to a nice tight free edge. So as you can see, it looks more like a stiletto. And then I'm putting my pinching tool back on. So why do I put my pinching tool back on? This is a question I get. That acrylic is hard enough after about 3 minutes for us to file, but it's actually still hardening up to 8 hours later. So if I take that pinching tool off after just a few minutes, there's the possibility that the acrylic's going to bounce back a little bit, and you're going to lose your shape that little bit. So the longer I can leave that pinching tool on, the better. And as long as it's not uncomfortable, you want to make sure it's not uncomfortable for the client. You've put it on, you haven't put it on too early, or you haven't forced a pinch that you've let that acrylic set too much and then you're trying to force a pinch in, then it's absolutely fine to leave that pinching tool on. I have another reason that I like to leave my pinching tools on, and that is because I cannot stand when clients sort of go in the handbags or put their fingers through their hair or touch the face and get makeup on the nails. So if I've got pinching tools on them while I move on to the next hand, then they can't move. They can't get anywhere, they can't put their fingers anywhere, and they are sort of weighted down to the table. So it's a bit of a trick way of making sure that your client stays nice and still. So I have a good 5 of these pinching tools on the go at the same time. And then when you're ready, you can just move them across. So I'm just checking to see if the nails are ready for pinching. So how do you check to see if that nail's ready for pinching? So if you touched it too soon, then it's going to be sticky. So you don't want to be touching that product too soon. But if you left it too long, then it's going to have already been set and you're not going to be able to get any curve out of it. So you're waiting for that in-between stage. So it's not sticky anymore, but it's still got a bit of mould to it. Best person to practice on is yourself, because you will know how much you can pinch, how hard you can press down, and what it feels like. So definitely practice pinching on your own nails. Obviously, as you can see, we are only pinching the free edge. It only just touches the natural nail. We're not over pinching the natural nail or anything like that. It is more the free edge of this nail. And although putting a clear layer down can seem like it takes longer to do that set of nails, in the long run it's going to cut your time down because you're going to be able to do redesigns. Now this is classed as an extreme shape, so a redesign you could only do maybe 2 times and then you're going to have to soak off and start again because the shape of the nail will change. So it's not a permanent shape that they can have without a soak off and a new set. So just make sure that your client is aware of that when they have this shape. So I'm going to get the pinching tool on this last nail now. I'm going to do the thumb separately rather than on camera because it's always difficult on camera to do thumbs. Depending on your salon environment also depends on your pinch. So if you're in a warm salon, you're going to have less time to pinch, and if you're in a cool salon, you're going to have more time to pinch. So again, keep that in mind. If you're mobile and you are changing from different environments, again, just bear in mind that if you're in a cool room, you're going to have a little bit more time, or if somebody's put you in a sauna, you're not going to have a lot of time. If you've done a good pinch on the form already, then you don't need to do too much. So I've taken the forms off now and I'm just getting my products ready. So I'm using mostly Glam & Glitz products, and then my cover pink is from Crystal Nails and the unicorn flakes are from the Nail Team, and then the transparent pink I'm using is NSI. So I'm going to get my smile lines done first. So I place that bead of cover pink at the back of the nail, so near the cuticle, and then pull it forward to create a nice crisp smile line, using the side of my brush to really get into those corners and create that lovely deep smile. Make sure that you've got a nice high wall So if you haven't, add a little bit more product. The more you do with your brush, the less you've got to do with the file. And then I'm coming in with a transparent pink. Now why do I do that? When you do French smile lines with just cover pink, you end up with almost like a mannequin looking nail. It looks a bit too false, like a fake colour. So I do my main smile line with my cover pink so that you've got that new smile line shape, but then I do my apex bead with a transparent pink, and it just gives that nail a little bit of a healthy sort of glow, bit of like nice warm colour, and then it's not looking too false on you. So this one I'm just going to blend down to a cover pink, so no smile line, and then this one's having a full colour. Careful when you put in colours near that cuticle area, make sure that you don't flood. So you want to have good control over that bead. When you put in a colour down near that cuticle area, you don't want to have too much liquid in it that it floods into that cuticle. Keep your colour work nice and thin. You don't want to work too thick because you are going to have to cap this. So if you work too thick, you've got that clear layer underneath, then you've got colours, and then you've got to cap again with clear. So if you went too thick on any of those layers, you can end up with a really thick nail. So every layer must be nice and thin. I do love unicorn flakes. What they do to a nail is just awesome. So I'm just filing that smile line now. I'm using a 100 grit file and using the straight side of the file to really make sure that that smile line is super crisp, super sharp, so that when I put my colour on, I've got a nice, crisp, deep smile. So not the rounded side of the file, the flat side of the file. Get rid of your dust, and then you can go in with your colour. So you can see I take the liquid out the back of my bead with my colour, because I just want it to work nice and strong in colour but thin in sort of the thickness of it. Pushing it up against that smile line and then making sure that that smile line's nice and neat and clean, because we are going to cap with clear. If you were just putting colour on and you wasn't capping, then it wouldn't matter if that colour went over the smile line and looked a bit messy at this point, because as you file, that smile line would come through. But because we are capping with clear, because we're putting glitter in and I like that glass sort of finish, then you've got to make sure that your smile lines are nice and neat. I absolutely adore lilac and purple and turquoise together. I was going to do this in pink and purple, and Jade sort of changed my mind, so I thankfully went with the lilac and turquoise instead. The glitter one is, I think it's called Liquid Sky, and it's not like pieces of glitter, it's like shards of glitter, so I really like it. It's really different. So you'll notice when I'm capping over the nail bed area, I capped with my extreme pink, my transparent pink, again to give that healthy looking glow, but when I'm capping over colour, I'm using my crystal clear. Check from your side angle, make sure you've got enough product on that apex. Don't be scared to back brush, but try not to touch the skin at any point in time with your brush, with your monomer in it, because it's not good for that skin to have that sort of chemical on it. So control your beads, don't flood the nail. So when I'm capping with the clear, I do reverse application, and then that way the bead stays where I want it, rather than a forward application and then pulling it all forward. So filing, like I said, this shape wants a nice straight file on the side walls, and then it wants to come up at an angle. Support the nail, the finger and the nail as you file it, because with it being an extreme shape, so a long nail shape, if you don't support the nail as you're filing, it can feel uncomfortable to the client. So when I'm filing on top, I've always got one of my fingers underneath, so I'm sort of pushing up with my finger and then pushing down with the file. If I'm filing a side, then again I've either got my thumb or my finger at the opposite side to give it a bit of support. I use my thumbs and my fingers as a guard so that I don't file the client's skin. I'm just filing the acrylic because my thumb or my finger is in the way. So conscious of where you're filing and how you're filing. The more work you do with your acrylic, the less work you've got to do with your file. So we've got rid of the dust, and I'm just doing a bit of artwork now. So these are Crystal Nails art gels, very highly pigmented gels, and the brush I'm using is the Phantom brush. So it's quite a short, almost stubby brush, but it's great for doing gel painting. So I'm starting off with white, just getting my petal shapes in. Then I'm going in with some purple and blending it over. So I've not cured this or anything yet, I'm still working into a wet layer, and then pulling my brush across with lots of brush strokes and blending that colour into the white, leaving more white on one side than the other. And I'm going to do exactly the same again, but with a bit of blue. So the petals look like they're going from sort of blue to lilac to white. And then cured in the lamp. Then all I did with these nails is just added a little bit of white royal gel detail and some crystals. Hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, guys, and hope it's helped, and look forward to seeing you soon.